All right. Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's conservation event. My name is Joe Grabowski from Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, and I will be your host for today. And it is going to be a good one today. So thank you to all the classrooms starting to tune in live via YouTube from across North America and our camera classrooms. We're looking forward to getting to meet you up close and personal in a little bit. So it is time for animals to take fate into their own paws. The Endangereds is the first book in a thrilling new adventure series by world-renowned environmentalist and Emmy-nominated host of Exploration Awesome Planet, Philippe Cousteau, and award-winning Turbo Racers author, Austin Aslin. We're teaming up with Earth Echo International, World Wildlife Fund, to host a series of virtual events this month, diving deeper into real-world conservation and threats that species are facing around the world, particularly species in the first book in the Endangereds series, the polar bear, orangutan, narwhal, pangolin, and the black-footed ferret. So I'm really excited now to introduce Philippe. He is the grandson of Jacques Cousteau, television host. He is an author, a speaker, and the founder of Earth Echo International, an amazing nonprofit working to give youth a voice and empower them to take part in our leading environmental issues. So Philippe, it's so great to have you joining us live today.
Joe, always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for that introduction. So excited about what we're doing with the Endangered in this whole series this month. This is the second one, of course, as you know. And for any repeat visitors, welcome back. And today we are talking about, I think, probably the least known of the Endangereds team members and the Pangolins. And I'm really looking forward to today. As Joe said, you know, the book, The Endangereds, oh, there it is, just came out about a month ago with HarperCollins, and it's been doing really well. And it's a fiction story all about a team of endangered species: a polar bear, a pangolin, an orangutan, two black-footed ferrets, and a narwhal. And these characters are rescued in the wild and brought to a secret facility in the Galapagos, where they are given a serum that gives them, unbeknownst to the human scientists, a hyper intelligence. And then, like an A-team, remember that old 80s TV show of the A-team for the environment, they travel on all sorts of adventures around the world. They're able to talk and fly airplanes and all these wonderful things. And I actually wanted to read you a little section of just one page of the book here that introduces Wangari, the pangolin in our book, who's named after the famous Kenyan environmentalist Wangari Maathai, just to give you a little sense of the kind of story that we tell with Wangari. She's such a critical character, the pangolin, in this book. Wangari's eyes shot wide open. She tucked into a plated ball, bracing for the blow. It came hard and swift. She was suddenly airborne, like a soccer ball kicked from midfield toward the goal. She bounced, tumbled, then unraveled. Her paws gripped the concrete floor, and she braked with her tail. The pangolin and the polar bear locked eyes. For a terrifying moment, Wangari thought Nukilik would rush at her. I might as well stop a train. Now, Nukilik is the polar bear, so big difference in size. But when rose as tall as she could, puffed her plates, and opened her arms, "Don't go this way." "What's really over there?" Nuke demanded. "The easiest way out?" The pangolin's patience snapped. Wangari sprinted towards the polar bear. Nukilik backed off a step, her expression more amused than fearful. Wangari took full advantage of the polar bear's uncertainty. She leapt, she spun, she landed right on Nukilik's shoulder. She thrust a well-placed claw into the polar bear's neck, crushing the nerve core she knew would be there, and sent the white giant into convulsions. So here's a little picture of Nukilik attacking in self-defense, Wangari attacking the polar bear, and then you see Murdoch, the narwhal, in the background watching. So that just gives you a little sense of Wangari. She's kind of the parkour engineer of the group and acrobat. And today we get to learn a little bit about the reality about pangolins as a little known but very endangered species. And I'm just excited about it. So back to you, Joe.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much for that excerpt from the story. And you are right, we are going to take a little trip now to meet Katie Schular. So Katie has always been fascinated with the natural world. She's had a particular interest in the lesser known and lesser appreciated animals. So those that don't get into the movies, those that aren't always made into stuffed animals. Her recent film, Pangolin, traces the poaching and smuggling routes of the endangered pangolin, a small, scaly mammal that resembles an anteater. The film was recently nominated for the Short Award in Great Britain's Wildscreen Festival and recently won the Short Award at the American Conservation Film Festival. Let's bring Katie in live with us. Hi, Katie. How you doing?
Hey, Joe. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Well, it's great to see you. Always fun to host you. I think you're joining us in DC today, in Washington.
Yeah, thereabouts.
All right, perfect. Well, Katie, I'm going to let you take over and share a little bit of your story with us. And then we have an extra special guest joining us, and I'll let you introduce Mark when it's time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So everybody, I'm so excited to have you here today and to talk a little bit about my work and about the one of the most incredible animals, the pangolin. I'm going to put on a timer just so I don't go too far over. So let me just get situated here. As a wildlife storyteller, I find myself in some really sometimes challenging, but very beautiful situations. I'll tell you a little bit about this. Hold on here. Okay. So, sometimes when we're filming animals, we have to respect their space. And so sometimes you need to don a disguise. So here's me in the middle of a jungle in West Africa filming pangolins. This is one of the highest coastal mountain ranges in the world in Colombia. And that was just such a special place. This is me filming at one of the highest peaks in the Arctic Circle. That's Nebby, my little drone over there. This is filming in Peru out the window of a tiny plane circling a mountain. And this is me filming some recently released pangolins, which you're going to hear more about. And so, you might be wondering, how the heck did I get to do all these things and see these amazing places? And I feel very fortunate. Well, I started out, just like your average little girl. This is me in my awesome 80s haircut. And my dad there giving me a Barbie, putting me in a cute little dress. Little did they know that what I was really interested in was the natural world. This is a clipping, I think when I was like 11 years old, of me holding a chameleon. And so whenever I could, I would try to interact with Mother Nature. And I was also quite good at representing the wild with my camera. And so this was my first camera, or should I say my first 100 cameras. And then throughout high school and college, I just began to explore the natural world and representing that wonder that I felt through all the various forms of media, photography, illustration. And I wanted to find the medium that I felt really got across the same kind of emotional connection that I felt when I was looking at nature. And I felt like I really came to a breakthrough when I discovered video and all the incredible tools that video brings to the visual medium and the storytelling potential there. I interned at National Geographic shortly after I graduated college and did a few pieces for them. And I thought, for a while that I was going to be focusing on making films about endangered species. But I think where my storytelling really belonged was at the intersection of humans and the natural world. And that's where I felt like I could do the most good. So you might be wondering, how did I come across pangolins? And what the heck is a pangolin, right? So this is one of the more famous photos of the pangolin because some of the species, they kind of look like they're shy and about to ask you out to prom. And they're just unlike any other animal on the planet. There's 8 different species across Africa and Southeast Asia. You can see them on the left and the right sides here, and they range in size anywhere from a large dog to a small cat. And they can weigh, depending on their size, up to 80 pounds. Here's a little baby pangolin hanging onto its mama's tail. And the tails are pretty amazing. They're prehensile, so they can hang upside down from trees, kind of like a 5th hand. Some of the species can also walk on their hind legs, so they're bipedal, which is totally incredible. They look like little T-Rexes. And they also have, for size and length to body ratio, the world's longest tongue. You can see in this image, the tongue actually extends way back into the animal's body. And they use this long, sticky tongue to get inside of termite mounds to eat their favorite food, which is ants and termites. So they're completely insectivores. They have no teeth or jaws. And one of their most signifying features is, of course, their scales. They're the world's only scaled mammal. And just this feature alone, it gives them 70 million years of unique evolution to every other animal. They're not related to anteaters or armadillos. And unfortunately, these same scales that protect them from even, in this case, lions, they do little to protect them from humans. And so they roll up into this protective ball when they're scared, and that makes them easy to pick up and illegally trade. And these are the scales, the pangolin scales, once they're removed from the body, and they are used for all kinds of traditional medicine. And so it's really sad. This is a giant pit full of, unfortunately, deceased pangolins, and this is just a very small representation of the amount of pangolins that are trafficked illegally. And so it's really important right now that we know about the species and we learn about them and tell our friends about them so that we can better protect them. And so that's a lot of what my storytelling does. I'll play a little clip for you here. This is the beginning of a more recent pangolin film that I made about the African species.
It will surprise you that the most illegally trafficked mammal in the world is not the elephant or the rhinoceros. It is a small, gentle, scaled mammal called a pangolin. Very few people have heard of pangolins, and fewer still have seen them in the wild. They are the only scaled mammals on Earth. Pangolin scales are prized by many as remedies to cure everything, from cancer to infertility, despite the fact that there is no scientific proof for this. As the supply of Asian pangolins has dwindled, traffickers have increasingly turned to Africa as a means of satisfying the demand.
Yeah, so for every 10,000 elephants that are poached, you have 1 million pangolins that are taken from the wild. And that's just an astronomical number. And we really, they're solitary animals. We have very little data and scientific information on this animal. We don't know how many are left. And so the fact that we're finding all these illegal catches, is really worrisome. And so, I hope that some of my storytelling, helps inform people about this animal, and more importantly, the incredible people out there that are doing some incredible conservation work. So one of our stories took us to Nigeria, where we were expecting to film the illegal trade kind of from the moment the animal's taken from the wild to when it's exported and sent towards Asia. And as we were conducting our filming and filming, some illegal catches and some of the traders involved, we met this incredible gentleman named Mark Ofua. And he inspired us so much that we decided to, pretty much feature him prominently in the film and talk about the incredible work that he's doing to essentially go into markets and rescue pangolins just like this one. This is actually one of the pangolins that we were able to rescue. And he rehabilitates them at his veterinary center. It's actually the first of its kind in Nigeria. And then he's able to rehabilitate them and then re-release them into a protected area. And he's done this with a bunch of white-bellied pangolins. And I'm so excited for you guys to meet Mark, who we actually have on the line from Nigeria. And he might have a little friend for all of us to meet. So we'll check in with Mark and see how he's doing.
Hello, Kathy. Hello, everyone. Great to be here.
Awesome. Hey. So how's it going?
Very well. We're doing very well. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mark, it's so great to have you joining us live today. Katie, thank you for that awesome presentation. I love the footage and, just teaching us so much about the pangolin. I'm sure there's many students who have never seen one before, let alone realizing they're the most highly trafficked, animal on the planet. Mark, it's such a pleasure to have you joining us from Nigeria. If I can get you just to maybe move a little closer and a little louder, it's a little bit quiet on your end. But, we'd love you to tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Mark. I am a veterinarian, a small animal veterinarian here in Nigeria. Sometime about 5-6 years ago, I started my work on wildlife rescue and rehabilitation. Our attitude to wildlife here in Nigeria is very poor, and I decided to stand out to make a difference. And in the course of my work, I came across this shy, gentle creature that is so misunderstood, that is so easily misunderstood by many. And when I checked up the status of this animal, I found out that they were very, very poached. The poaching rate is very high and is listed as vulnerable to extinction. I realized I had to do something about it. I had to stand up for these animals. I had to work hard to rescue them. And over the years, I have focused on pangolin rescue, rehabilitation. What I do basically, I have this relationship that I have developed with the hunters, with the bushmeat traders, and they know me as the pangolin man. So whenever they come across an orphan pangolin or there's an injured or sick pangolin, they call me. And then once in a while too, I make forays into the bushmeat market to try and see if I can rescue, actually make budgets for it. And I try to see if I can rescue these hapless creatures. Now, when we rescue these animals from the bushmeat trade, they are usually very sick, very injured. They are injured, very sick. Some of them are dehydrated, very weak. And you know that if you do not do something urgently, they will die. So when I take these weak animals in, I try to rehabilitate them in the hospital. There are some we have to give infusions. There are some we have to rehydrate. There are some that will come in with nasty gashes, with cuts and wounds on their body. We would have to treat them. We would have to treat them and then get them well. And then also there are some we take as, like you're going to see very soon. I have a baby with me. There are some we take in and their mother is dead or killed or has been sold off, and you know that these animals would not survive if you don't hand raise them. So I turn out to be like the mother. I hand raise them, I foster them, and then nurture them until they grow up to be able to feed on their own, and then I release to a protected forest near me. So this is the work I've been doing for some time now.
All right. Well, it's amazing work, Mark. I've been able to read some articles about the work that you're doing, and it's, what's even more amazing is kind of first of its kind. So that's really exciting to kind of be a pioneer in conservation. So yeah, Mark, if you're up for it, I think we'd love to meet your special guest.
All right, I have two of them actually. Um, yeah.
Wow.
Yes. So this chap is about 2 months old. He's been with us for almost the length of that time. When we rescued him, we had
Oh, I think the signal's not cooperating with us. Let's hope we get a reload here because we just got to the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll give it a sec. Sometimes it might blink out and then refresh for us. So we'll give Mark a sec to see if he can come back and join us. But while we do wait, let's get Philippe back in here. Katie, I mean, wow. I mean, you met Mark, saw the work he was doing, and so much has come of that since working together.
Yeah, it's really kind of raised the profile of what Mark is doing there. I hope we're able to get him back. I'm just going to text him to see if he.
Yeah, if you do send him a text, just let him know maybe exiting and coming back in. Oh, it looks like he might be doing that already.
Okay, so good.
We get him back in shortly.
Perfect. Yeah, I think since we filmed with him, he's gone from rehabbing just a couple of pangolins once a week or so, whenever he can, to I don't know how many now. We'll have to ask him, but his capacity is greatly improved, and I think he's built this incredible, or in the process of building this big rehab center with full-size trees where the pangolins can roam. And we've found from talking to different pangolin experts that having that kind of buffer zone to rehabilitate in a natural environment for an extended period of time greatly increases the success of release of pangolins. They can get really stressed out, and so having that kind of gentle rehab process, yeah, is a lot better. Hey!
I'm sorry, I can't handle it. I'm gonna put myself on mute because this is so amazing.
Hey, Mark, we should name that one Wangari.
Mongari, can you spell, please? Can you spell?
Yes. So, Mark, Philippe Cousteau, such a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much for your story and the extraordinary work that you do. It is so wonderful to see them here on video, and it's also heartbreaking to think of what we are doing to them. And I know all the students and people joining us from around the world will be so excited to see this. And wow, I'm speechless. We have a pangolin, as I think you heard earlier, is one of the members of our secret team of animal endangered species in a new book that I wrote. And the name of the pangolin is Wangari, Wangari, named after the Kenyan environmental advocate and leader Wangari Maathai. Wow, I'm just kind of speechless at how amazing these animals are. My wife is watching on a YouTube link in the other room, and I can hear her screaming through the wall. So how excited she is. So this is really just such extraordinary work. Joe, is there a link? Is there a link we can flash for everybody watching here to Mark, to your work? Katie, what should we direct people to here? So people can support Mark, and maybe, kids watching in school, maybe you could do a fundraiser, or you all could do something to help adopt pangolins or something like that. Any of you watching, like maybe there's some things that they could do.
Absolutely, Mark. I'm going to put a link up to your donation page. Is that a good one?
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, share that in the chat, Katie, and I'll paste it to the to all the links for the classrooms.
Great.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Mark, I mean, I'm going to put it full screen again. We just have to get a closer look. What's the difference in age there between those two?
Oh, about 4 months.
4 months. Wow.
This chap here is about 6 months. Yeah, and this guy is about 2 months old. So there's a 4 month difference.
Oh, so good.
This guy is he's learning to feed. This chap is learning to feed by himself now. And in a couple of months, we'll be releasing him to the protected area. But this little guy here, I try not to name them so that I don't get attached to them. Yeah, this little guy here is still on formula, still holding on formula. Yeah.
It's on formula.
The first orphan I raised, I named him, and it was quite emotional when it was time to let him go. So I try not to get attached.
That's smart. That is smart. My goodness. And what kind specifically of pangolins are those?
White-bellied.
White-bellied. Okay.
Yes, these are the white-bellies. You can see the belly.
Okay. There you go. Yeah. Now, Katie, how many different pangolins are there in Asia and in Africa?
8 different species across several different across 2 continents, and there's a couple that are tree climbers, a couple that are land dwellers. So there's quite a variety, but they're all incredibly unique. There's also the black-bellied pangolin that's a tree climber that has like golden black scales and black skin. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the character in our book is actually a black-bellied pangolin.
Oh, really? That's wonderful. I love the acrobatic abilities of Wangari. That just sounds so cool.
Yes, well, we had a lot of fun with that character, and we're already working on book 2, and she has a very prominent role in book 2. So that is, Mark, do you ever get black-bellied pangolins in that region?
No, around here, Western Nigeria, it's basically white-bellied that we have.
It's extraordinary. So what's next for you, Mark? What are you focusing on now? What do you need help with in your work?
Okay, interestingly, in the course of the work, I found out that the challenges come when they come to the clinic. Of course, we rehabilitate them and then release. But the challenge comes in when you release. How are you able to monitor the efficiency? How they survive in the protected area? There is no way to monitor. So what I came up with, I was able to build a conservation center, a rehab center for them. It's about 9,000 square feet, and it's fenced round. The fence is about 30 feet high. So that's where it's going to be like a controlled environment inside. It's about 9,000 square feet of natural ground that is enclosed. So it's going to be like a controlled environment where we can release them after like a couple of months in that controlled environment. So where we need help basically now is in running the rehabilitation center. Building it alone has really, really decimated available funds. So we need help in running it, and then also in getting tags, radio tags for the pangolin, so that after a couple of months in the forest, we can still go there to look for them, see how they're thriving and all that. So that is where the challenge is right now. Expansion, basically.
All right. And Philippe, I know you mentioned that Ashlyn's tuning in. I can see that she's volunteering to go anytime. She'll head over there and she'll help.
Yes, we count us in to come help.
Oh, amazing. Well, Mark, I knew this was going to be awesome, but I had no idea we'd be talking to you and you'd have, a little baby perched on your shoulder. That's pretty incredible. That's pretty special.
Wow.
Well, look, I think we should take some questions. We've got tons of classrooms tuning in via YouTube. We've got camera classrooms where we're going to have questions.
There's a local dialect here in Nigeria.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Sorry. All right. Well, let's grab some Q&A action. So let's start with our first group here. I'm going to go to Mrs. Foster's class. They're joining us. in Alabama. They're in Tuscaloosa. How are we doing today?
Some questions.
Good, we're doing good. My question is, what rules or laws are intact or being persevered to keep the pangolins safe and not in harm's way, like to make sure they're not endangered anymore?
I think pangolins are considered endangered species, and they're protected under CITES Appendix 1. But it's all about enforcement on a local level that I think is going to make a big difference. But there's a lot of different ways we could look at pangolin conservation. There's kind of on the local scale what Mark is doing with his incredible rehab efforts, and Mark also does. Mark, can you tell them a little bit about your educational outreach and what you're doing locally in Nigeria to teach people about pangolins?
Okay, I'm a veterinarian, and I'm studying further on taking care of these guys. But apart from working with them and trying to get a better life for the pangolins, I also work educating people, because I know ignorance is one of the major challenges we have. So I work on educating people on the plight of these animals. I work with schools, primary schools, secondary schools, teaching them, organizing talk shows, teaching the kids about the plight of these animals and why we need to conserve them. Like I said earlier, the average outlook to wildlife in Nigeria is basically bushmeat. People think we should see these animals, and then the next thing they think of is food. They fail to realize that these animals, they have a role they play in nature, they have a role they play in the ecosystem, and if these guys become extinct, we humans are the ones that will suffer for it. So yes, I go around teaching people to pay more attention to the environment, to pay more attention to the environment, and to play their role in conservation of these species.
All right. Yeah, it's hard not to be distracted by your friend peeking out there, but it's it's such amazing work you're doing, raising that awareness and that education. Katie,
and so important, Joe. I mean, that's why we're doing what we're doing here, right? I mean, focusing on youth and education is absolutely vital to changing that social understanding, that social perspective of wildlife and nature and our role in nature. And I think that this is really just so inspiring and hopeful. I mean, certainly pangolins face an uphill battle. Is that fair to say, Katie, in terms of their long-term survival?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely been a challenging time for them as a species, and it's kind of an all hands on deck approach. I think in general, the more that we can just leave pangolins alone, the less chance that we also will, essentially the part of the reason why, we're experiencing a pandemic right now is because these zoonotic diseases are transferring from animals to humans. And pangolins, I don't think that they were the animal that transferred it, but it's just, whether it's a pangolin or a bat, these animals are completely harmless if they're left alone in their own ecosystems. And so, the less we can encroach on their habitat, the better everything will be for everybody. So that's why it's so important to have people understanding that right now, and your book and the efforts that Mark's doing and some of the films that I make, we're all just trying to get the word out that we need to, help there be more of a balance between human and humans in the natural world.
Yeah.
That's a big theme of the book, The Endangereds, is balance. And the idea that things are out of balance and that together we have to return them to balance. And so thank you for that, Kate. I think that's really the takeaway, I think, for all the folks watching this, both live today and the archives, is that things are out of balance, and I like to think, we can do something about that. I said this on the last webinar we did about polar bears, but in 40 years, we have lost half the biodiversity on this planet, estimate. You know, and you know, 68% or so of wildlife. And so that's an enormous amount and terrifying. And I think that, you know, fundamentally things are out of balance, but as we've seen, particularly my main work is in the ocean, but as we've seen that nature can be resilient and we can affect positive restoration of these systems and do the kind of work, the terrific work that Mark's doing around restoration, rehabilitation can work. And so I think that's another hopeful message I want kids to walk away from today with, is that there is hope and there is opportunity for us to change and turn things around. We just have to really be active and take action in our communities and supporting communities around the world that are doing this kind of work.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to start flashing a couple links. I've got the links if you want to dig a little bit deeper into the work that Mark is doing. I will put them up a few times during the event if you want to get involved and help out, especially the classrooms. You know, even though you're far away, there's still things you can do to help with the work. So I'm going to share a few of those links and we'll put them up a few times. I'll make sure they get into the YouTube chat as well. While those links are up, though, we're going to go to Mr. Kurd's class, 5th graders hanging out in Virginia. How are we doing today, Virginia?
Hey. We got a couple of questions. I'm going to call on the students to come to us.
How many penguins are killed each year?
How many penguins are killed each year? Katie?
I know that I think 1 million penguins were killed over the last 10 years. So I'm not
tens of thousands. I think it's safe to say tens of thousands of penguins a year, if not closer to 100,000, perhaps.
Yeah.
About 100,000 estimated killed every year.
Okay.
100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just based on estimates, and it's probably more than that.
I can assure you there are more, because nobody is able to count the ones that are killed for food, which is basically what happens in Africa. They are killed for food. What they're able to count and estimate is from the seizures made on scales. That's what is being used for the estimate. So definitely the pangolins that are killed are more than the 100,000 that is estimated annually. Yeah.
So about 100,000 for their scales, but more as food.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump. I want to do a shout out to St. Andrews. There's a group joining us in Oakville, Ontario in Canada, 5th graders. I see they're in the call, but their devices aren't connected. So that might mean they don't have a camera. So use that chat bar on the side, St. Andrews, and send us in a question, and we'll make sure that we work that question in. Mr. Kurd's class will try to come back your way for another question closer to the end. Let's go to British Columbia this time, Kelowna. We've got some students hanging out with us. Let's bring them live into the call here. There they are. How are we doing, British Columbia? All right, good to see you. Who's got a question?
Who was asking about the species? Or how many lives? Quickly. Erickson, come on up. Quickly. Come on. Right here.
Hi, Erickson. We're ready for you, bud. What's your question? We didn't hear it.
Start again. He's asking about how many species of pangolins.
There's 8 different species of pangolins, and they live in Africa and throughout Asia.
All right. Perfect. Let's grab another classroom here. This time, we've got another classroom hanging out with us in Virginia today. Mrs. Miller's class. Let me bring them into the event. Hey, Virginia.
Hello.
Does anything eat penguins or hunt them?
Not that I know of. I mean, even lions can't really attack pangolins, because when they sense that they're in danger, they roll up into that protective ball, and it's almost impenetrable. Those scales are actually kind of hard. They're like your fingernails. They're actually made out of the same material as your hair and your fingernails, keratin. And so that becomes a really nice hard shell that even lions can't attack them. So I think there's very few animals that are able to eat pangolins. The biggest predator, the biggest threat to that animal is us humans.
Well, and Katie, I just want to add that keratin that is, again, you pointed out, the same as your fingernails is what the pangolin scales are made out of. Is also what rhino horn is, and rhino horn is also heavily trafficked in the illegal wildlife trade, and is one of the reasons that rhinoceros are so highly endangered. And it's kind of crazy when we think about it, everybody on the call here, that there are people that believe that the same thing that your fingernails are made out of has all these medicinal benefits when they don't. And it's pretty terrible and wasteful when you think about that, because these animals are being killed for something that has no medicinal value and is the same stuff as your hair and your own fingernails.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Our group, we've got a group joining us, Miss Michael. Let me bring them live into the group. How you doing today, Miss Michael?
We're doing great. So I'm going to get Kevin to ask his question. We'll see if you can hear him. Kevin, can you unmute?
Okay. Don't worry, I'm right there. So whatever. Let's see here. Like, why do they kill the pangolins for me anyway? I mean, what's the point?
Mark?
So we were especially wondering because we've been talking to people in Madagascar after one of Joe's shows, and they said they kill the lemurs for food because they don't have enough food. So Kevin was wondering whether they kill pangolins for food because there isn't any, they don't have enough to eat, other sources of food.
Well, I wouldn't agree with that. They tend to say that here too, but that is not true, because the pangolin it's more expensive than other food sources. The price of one pangolin would buy about 4 chickens, and the chicken has more meat than the pangolin. So you wouldn't tell me that you're eating the pangolin because there is not enough food. There is enough food. They like the taste of the pangolin. When I talk to them, they say it tastes like chicken. I don't understand that. If it tastes like chicken, then go for chicken. If it's chicken you wanted, you see. It's just like I said earlier, it's the outlook we've had to wildlife. In Africa here, we believe everything that moves, you kill and eat. They eat lizards, snakes, birds, just you name it, tortoises, crocodiles, anything. And the pangolin sadly falls under that too. Free source of meat. That's it. And then also there's this little class of people that believe the flesh of the pangolin, not the scales now, the flesh, they believe it's medicinal, and that it cures hypertension, high blood pressure, and all that. And this little group use it, especially the traditional health practitioners, the native doctors. They use the pangolin flesh to cure these diseases. And then the vast majority, they just eat it because it tastes like chicken. Yeah.
Expensive chicken. What a waste. Joe, I see a question from St. Andrews here on the chat as well, that are asking about the breeding habits of pangolin.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
The breeding habits of pangolin, it's something that makes the fight to save this species more important. Now, unlike other wildlife that are eating, like the grass cutter or the cane rat, these other animals are highly fecund, meaning they reproduce at a fast rate to cover up for what is taken off from the wild. But unfortunately, these pangolins, they reproduce very slowly. Now, an adult female would have one every year or every 2 years, just one pup. So imagine what happens when you kill an adult female, or you kill a pregnant female, or you kill, like this one, the mother was killed. He was actually born in captivity. The mother was captured. The mother gave birth and then was sold that same day or 2 days afterwards, before I was able to get him and rescue him. So when that kind of a thing happens, you've killed the current generation and the next generation. So you see, they reproduce very slowly, and the rate of reproduction is not fast enough to catch up with the rate at which we're taking them off the wild, which makes it a very, very dire situation here.
All right. I want to make sure we grab a question or two via YouTube. And we have a grade 6 class who wants to know, and I'm actually curious too, pangolins, do they swim?
Yes, they swim. There are like 2 videos in existence that show them swimming, which is insane to me, that this animal that, you know, doesn't seem to have any flotation on its body can swim, and it's got claws, so it's not like webbing that it uses. I don't know how it stays afloat, but I've seen different species in different parts of the world swimming, and it's absolutely incredible.
Awesome. Mr. Pettis' group in California, in Hollywood, they want to know about the lifespan. What's a typical lifespan? How long do they live?
You know, I'm not sure. There's not a ton of data on that. That's part of the reason why, you know, we need more pangolin researchers and scientists out there, because they're just data deficient across the board. I think there's some studies that have been done on pangolins in captivity. I want to say about 30 years, give or take, in captivity. Mark, do you have any thoughts or additional info?
Yes, I agree with you. It's really not known how long they stay in the wild, but it's estimated to be about 20 years, 20, 30 years, yeah. And then in captivity, they do very poorly in captivity. That's why when we rescue anyone, we do our best. We have a 2-week window period to rehabilitate them and release to the protected forest. Yeah.
All right. Katie shared another link with me here. I want to put it up in a banner. This is to a YouTube video, a short video featuring Mark and his work. So I'm going to make sure I get that shared in a couple spots as well. Definitely make sure I share it with all of our classrooms registered as well. So if you grab a screenshot of that, you can check this out afterwards and get a little more of a look at Mark's work. I think we should feature a few more links as well. Earth Echo, Philippe's amazing organization. You can check it out here, Earth Echo International, so earthecho.org. And then our other partner, the World Wildlife Fund. I want to make sure that we share their education page. They've got some amazing resources that you can use there. And then Philippe, I'll let you maybe talk a little bit about Endangereds and how students can get a little more involved.
Sure thing. Well, thanks, Joe. You know, fundamentally, the whole idea behind this webinar that you all are participating in and all of the series that we're doing this month and going forward, all the terrific work that Joe does and Explore by the Seat of Your Pants, it's really about helping you all become champions. I think that's the most important thing. Becoming a champion for endangered species, becoming a champion for animals and for wildlife. Everybody talks about elephants and lions and tigers and the big animals, and it's very important to protect them, rhinoceros, etc. But there are a lot of other animals that are lesser known, and that was really what today was all about, is helping you all understand a little bit about pangolins, the most trafficked animal in the world, and shedding light on that. And no matter where you live, you have an opportunity to help support these animals, either by supporting organizations like Mark's and his terrific work, but also being a champion. Share those YouTube videos, share the films from Katie through your social media, through your friends. Show your parents when you go home. Organize screenings for these kinds of films at your school. Become a champion, become a storyteller for pangolins. And that's really, really important because most people don't know what's happening. And that's one of the big problems that these animals face. People don't recognize it. So I think being a champion, supporting these animals, supporting organizations like this is absolutely critical.
All right, awesome. I'm going to share another link here. When you go to, is it Endangereds or the Endangereds?
You know, they both work. We got both URLs. So Endangereds or the endangereds.com. There's links there, and we will, you know, at the bottom that we're doing more of these webinars, etc. But We're really excited about this, and you know, you have the power to change the world. That's the message here, everybody. We can do this if we come together, because we're all in this together.
Absolutely. So earlier in the week, we featured polar bears. You can find that on Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants YouTube channel. We've got orangutans coming up next week. And then we've got black-footed ferrets and narwhals. So lots of events that classrooms can still come and join in. Katie, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to host you. You do such amazing work. So I highly suggest, Katie, where can we go to check out some of your films?
Yeah, all my stuff is on my production website, which is coralandoak.com. So I'll put a link here. But thank you guys so much. This has been incredible. It's always wonderful to see you, Mark. It's lovely to meet you, Philippe. Joe, it's always a pleasure to meet classrooms through this awesome platform. And yeah, this has just been such a pleasure. And congratulations again on the book. Can't wait to get a copy for myself.
I'll make sure I send you one, Katie. Thank you. And Mark, thank you so much for all the work that you do and for joining us today. We're so grateful.
Yeah, Mark, you're a legend. Thank you so much for bringing your guests today. And thank you for the work that you're doing to protect them, to make sure future generations get to see them as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I think little guy is sleepy. He wants to go to bed.
Oh my goodness. That's so wonderful. Wow.
All
what
right.
a way to kick off the end of a very stressful week. Thank you, Mark.
Not too
A
shabby.
lot of joy to all of us.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, YouTube classrooms. You were amazing. I'm going to bring in a few classrooms that are still here with us. If you want to give Mark and Katie a big shout out, thank you so much. I hope everybody has an awesome weekend. And I hope to see you our next event. So thanks so much, everybody. Enjoy the weekend, a well-deserved one.
You too.
Have a great weekend.
Go Penguins.